All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Simon, and a huge thank you for all the participants coming along today and yeah, seeing what we've got to say. I'm extremely humbled to be a part of this topic, and yeah, really want to sort of express my appreciation for southern farming systems. I started on this journey sort of probably 5 years ago, and Zoe Creelman and a lot of the SFS guys were the first ones that I came to, and then Roger and Simon and Cam and have all been mentors of mine along the journey. So, and if I was to tell you we are where we're at today 5 years ago, I'll be shocked. So yeah, I'm really grateful for the support that I've had, and to have the Precision Ag guys sponsoring this topic is amazing, because they're what's going to help us as farmers get this stuff happening and applicable and cost effective in this journey. So yeah, I just want to express today about yeah, where the rubber hits the road. So for where farmers can come in and apply some of the knowledge and the research that they've been watching over the period in relation to subsoil manuring, and unlocking some of these yield constraints that we're seeing due to the subsoils and the waterlogging that we're getting in the medium and high rainfall zones. So yeah, I suppose what drives me and probably all of us, there's a few components, and yeah, we can see here that we need to yeah, move to the productivity gains. We've seen a lot out of min-till and these sort of things, and we need to sort of unlock some of the potential through overcoming some of the soil constraints. And as we all know, the land values are going up and up, and where we can etch out any little bit of productivity improvements, we've got to do that. And the subsoils and the soils are going to be key to doing that. So, and as we all know, the subsoil manuring and subsoil amelioration research has been mounting, and since 2004 when Rennick and those guys started off, and we really need to apply it in a paddock setting now. So I suppose the exciting stuff for me is a lot of the tools we've seen researchers using historically are now becoming more and more available thanks to guys like Precision Ag, and great to see Ben here today. And yeah, we want to I want to show the stuff that I've done in my research on farm, and it's all coming together and being able to package it up as a full service that farmers can get and to apply subsoil manuring or subsoil amelioration on their farm. So the big ones being the electromagnetic mapping, gives us the ability to see what's happening with our subsoils, map out and overlay, I suppose, with yield maps, and see what yields are being attributed to the different soil constraints, and yeah, the grid sample analysis. So obviously historically we've been doing chemical analysis of soils, but the fact that we've got rigs available that can cost effectively grid map out core samples, and then we can do the chemical analysis on those. So this gives us the ability to then, like Simon said, sort of do a far more targeted strategic soil amelioration, which sort of optimises the potential for return on our investment and minimises the risk of spending a lot of money and not getting a full return on that investment. So here's one electromagnetic mapping rig and soil sampling rig, just a bit of a map from on our place a few years ago. This is another one that we're starting to see more and more of. So I've sort of packaged it up into a few steps, I suppose, for farmers to be able to use if they're interested in soil amelioration and are worried about their subsoils. So I'll go through the 5 steps, being diagnosing or doing the due diligence on your soil constraints, analysing the soil amelioration options, obviously Simon mentioned, you know, using on-farm biomass is one big thing, using manures, as we're saying, composted green waste out of cities is another one that we sort of really need to try and untap that sort of resource. And then the important one, I think, that's probably for me as a farmer, the next step is running the numbers. So this is Cam's area, but yeah, looking at what the costs are going to be, what we think the potential increase in yields averaged over sort of 5 years, and then working out zonally in a paddock where we think we'll get a different response, and then that means, yeah, we can sort of cut the paddock up into segments and then target ameliorate a certain segment depending on what return on investment we want out of that, out of the investment. So yeah, then go in with the amelioration strategy, depending on which which ameliorant we're going to use, and how much additives we may use with lime or gypsum, and which parts of the paddock we're going to treat, and then depending on whether we've got a machine or whether we can use a service that are starting up now. And it's really exciting to see Yallock Ag Co become a contractor in subsoil amelioration, and yeah, they're the ones that are really grab this whole thing by the horns with the machinery and the knowledge, and now they're providing contracting service to us farmers. So that's really exciting, and we're now yeah, at the point where we can call them up and they can come and assess our soils and then treat the soils with whatever we decide on. So I'm just going to run through a case study because I think this is what's going to be most applicable to us farmers looking at whether this is something we want to do on our farm. So good old John Smith from Winchelsea. He's got a mixed cropping and fat land business with a 70-30 ratio of livestock, crop to livestock. So John sees waterlogging yield loss in 10 to 30% of his land in 3 out of 5 years. And John, up to date, has used just, you know, improved management where he can, getting crops in early, raised beds, and those sort of things to minimise the waterlogging losses. And John's seen the research around, so he comes and asks what he thinks could be done in terms of soil amelioration on his property. So the first step being the due diligence, as we've spoken about. John's identified a 30-hectare paddock, which he thinks is representative of the wider property. So it gives us an idea of if we treat areas in the 30 hectares on, and then we could use that to extrapolate those out to what performance it would have on the rest of his property if that was what he was looking to do beyond the trial. So John can employ Precision Ag or Yallock to do the diagnosis and due diligence on what's happening with his subsoils, overlaying those with the historic yield maps and John's experience to see what is happening on the farm. So then we'd come in with an electromagnetic survey and to map out the paddock. We'll overlay those maps with a historic yield map, sort of preferably 5 years of yield data. And then, yeah, sort of the knowledge of those paddocks is also essential from John to know what happens in certain years and whether that translates to the yield monitor data that we've seen. And then probably the most likely scenario is to create 2 zones, a low and a high performing yield zone within a paddock, which then gives us the ability to treat separately the different areas of the paddock. So then we go through and target the high and the low performing zones within the paddock and for core sampling. So get a strategic amount of cores from that area. So we then do the soil chemical analysis and work out what's happening with the subsoils. So after that, we can have a look at these chemical soil analyses and then analyse the degree of dispersion, what's happening with the ESPs, and where the depth to interface, so between your A and your B horizon, and then we'll possibly go in and do some soil pits just to ground truth and verify what we're seeing with the soil tests. And then the good thing about this depth of analysis is then, like building on what Simon said, we can then look at doing a very targeted ameliorate blend to make sure that we're actually addressing those zones according to their soil types and their soil constraints. And this is an actual ameliorate blend that was seen on one of Yallock AgCo's recent jobs, and that shows you the high and the low yielding zones and the treatment ameliorate blends. So I suppose this is the decision time, the bit where we've got to start spending some real money, and this is where we go back to what I said earlier about analysing what we think the potential yield increase is going to be, the costs taken, and then how that return on investment is going to be over a 5-year, and doing a modified internal rate of return, which is with the likes of Cam can really help us out. And then you could make a decision if you're going to just target one area. If we thought we could get a 30% annualised average yield on the low yielding area, and that gives us an extra ton to the hectare, then that's possibly something that you're going to do. But in this setting with John Smith, he wants to look at how it's going to perform on his whole farm. So because it's being done as a pseudo trial, then we're going to do the low and the high yielding zones. And with the information we've gathered, we worked out that we're going to target an ameliorate depth of 350 to 400 mil of placement into the top of the B horizon. So then the execution, and now this is the exciting bit where Yallock AgCo have their 2 soil amelioration machines out and about, and John Smith then gets Yallock to come in and perform the subsoil amelioration in the high and the low yielding zones with the 2 different blends. And then Yallock goes through, does the injection, and then going on from there, John will perform the post-amelioration activities, get the soil work back down, and go on with his normal cropping rotation. So Simon's already shown this, the soil amelioration machine that we had built, and also the chaser bin style filling rig, which is really going to increase the field efficiency and maximise the time that the subsoil manuring machines are working, which has been a little limitation around getting the hectares done we've wanted in the past. So it's really exciting. So I want to say a huge thank you for listening, and hopefully if anyone's got any questions at the end of the Rogers talk, then feel free to ask them.